Whispers in the void. The Meridian was never meant to be beautiful. Like most salvage vessels operating in the Crescent Nebula, it was a patchwork of retrofitted parts, reinforced hull sections, and questionable engineering choices. But to Captain Nora Vega, the ship's ungainly silhouette against the violet gases of the nebula held its own peculiar charm. "Captain, we've got something strange on the long-range scanners," called Lyra from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface with uncanny precision. Energy signature doesn't match any known vessel configurations. Nora moved to stand behind Lyra's chair, studying the readout. 6 months ago, she would have double-checked Lyra's work, but the woman had proven herself to be the most gifted radar technician Nora had ever encountered. Too gifted, perhaps. "Can you clean up that signal?" Nora asked, her breath stirring the fine white blonde hair at Lyra's nape. "Already on it," Lyra replied, and Nora noticed the slight tremor in her hands. Unusual for someone typically so composed. The crew of the Meridian was small but efficient, Nora as captain, Lyra on sensors, Dominic handling engineering, and Reza as their pilot and medic. They'd been hired to map uncharted sections of the nebula for a mining corporation, but salvage rights were where the real credits were made. "It's a station," Lyra announced finally. "Old Terran design, probably research. Been adrift for at least a decade, maybe more." Dominic looked up from his console, dark eyes gleaming with interest. "Salvage rights? If it's abandoned, it's ours," Nora confirmed. "Reza, plot us a course." As they approached the station, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Lyra. The technician had joined the crew 3 months ago with impeccable references and an uncanny ability to fix almost any system. She kept to herself, volunteered for extra shifts, and never talked about her past. "Docking protocols engaged," Reza announced, his weathered hand steady on the controls. "We'll be attached in 5 minutes." Lyra's station chimed with an alert. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations inside the station. Not consistent with standard power systems." "Dangerous?" Nora asked. "Unknown," Lyra admitted, but there was something in her voice, knowledge, perhaps fear. The boarding team consisted of Nora, Lyra, and Dominic, while Reza remained behind to monitor the Meridian. The station was cold, emergency lighting casting long shadows across abandoned corridors. Their breath fogged in the chilled air as they moved deeper into the structure. "Life support's functioning at minimal levels," Dominic observed, checking his handheld scanner. "No signs of struggle or emergency evacuation." "It's like they just walked away," Nora agreed, running a gloved hand over a console thick with dust. Lyra had fallen silent, her attention fixed on a door at the far end of the corridor. Without waiting for orders, she moved toward it, her steps quick and purposeful. "Lyra?" Nora called, but the technician didn't respond. The door slid open at Lyra's approach, revealing a laboratory filled with equipment unlike anything Nora had ever seen. Crystalline structures pulsed with a soft blue light, connected by what appeared to be liquid metal conduits. "This isn't human tech," Dominic whispered, awe and fear mingling in his voice. "No," Lyra agreed, her voice suddenly different, more melodic, with harmonic undertones that hadn't been there before. "It's Kelvari." Before Nora could question her, Lyra stepped forward and placed her hand on one of the crystal structures. It flared brilliantly, and the entire laboratory hummed to life. "What the hell, Lyra?" Nora demanded, hand moving to her sidearm. Lyra turned, and in the blue light of the crystals, her features seemed to shift subtly. Her eyes, normally a warm brown, now reflected light like a cat's. "Captain, I need you to trust me," she said, the harmonics in her voice more pronounced. "This station is a listening post." It was monitoring something far worse than a few Kelvari spies. "Spies?" Dominic echoed, already backing toward the door. "What are you saying?" Lyra sighed, a sound like wind through crystal chimes. "I'm saying I'm not human, and neither is this technology. But right now, that's the least of our problems. The laboratory's main display activated, showing a star map of the sector. Several points pulsed with the same blue light as the crystals. These are dormant nodes, Lyra explained. Part of an ancient defense network built to contain something my people call the resonance, a signal entity that consumes consciousness. Your people found one of the containment nodes and didn't understand what they were tampering with. And you just happened to be on my ship when we found this station? Nora's voice was cold with suspicion. No, Lyra admitted. I arranged to be on your ship because I knew you would find it. The Meridian's contract to map this sector wasn't random, Captain. I ensured your vessel would be selected. Nora drew her weapon. So you've been lying since day one. I lied to protect you, Lyra said softly. All of you. If my people knew humans had discovered this technology, they would have eliminated the threat, eliminated you. Dominic's scanner began to emit a high-pitched alarm. Something's powering up throughout the station. The blue light from the crystals pulsed faster, spreading through the liquid metal conduits like a heartbeat. It's detected us, Lyra said, fear evident in her voice. The resonance knows we're here. The station shuddered, and a low, vibrating tone filled the air, more felt than heard. Nora's vision blurred at the edges, and Dominic collapsed to his knees, hands over his ears. What's happening? Nora demanded, fighting to remain standing. It's trying to establish a connection, Lyra explained, moving quickly to another console. The resonance feeds on consciousness, it will try to override your neural patterns. The pressure in Nora's head increased, and strange whispers filled her thoughts, alien voices speaking in languages she couldn't understand but somehow recognized. Lyra's fingers flew across the alien interface, her face set in concentration. The harmonics in her voice grew more complex as she spoke to the system in her native tongue. I can't shut it down, she said finally, turning to Nora. But I can redirect it. Captain, we need to get back to the Meridian and warn both our peoples. If the resonance fully awakens, it will spread through communication networks, consuming minds as it goes. Why should I believe you? Nora asked, though the pain in her head made it difficult to think clearly. Because I had countless opportunities to harm you and chose not to, Lyra replied. Because I'm risking everything by revealing myself to you. And because right now, I'm the only one who understands what we're facing. The whispers in Nora's mind grew louder, more insistent. Images flashed before her eyes, stars dying, civilizations falling, entire species reduced to empty shells. How do I know those aren't your memories? She asked, gesturing to her temple. How do I know you're not causing this? You don't, Lyra admitted. But think, Nora. Have I ever given you reason not to trust me before today? The truth was, she hadn't. Despite her secretiveness, Lyra had saved the ship twice, once during an asteroid belt crossing and again when their life support had failed. She'd worked tirelessly, asked for little, and shown nothing but dedication to the crew. Dominic groaned, blood now trickling from his nose. Captain, whatever's happening is getting worse. The decision crystallized in Nora's mind. What do we need to do? Relief flooded Lyra's alien features. Get back to the ship. I've initiated a shutdown sequence, but it won't hold for long. We need to reach the primary node before the resonance breaks containment. Nora holstered her weapon and helped Dominic to his feet. This doesn't mean I trust you. But right now, we have a common goal. That's all I ask, Lyra said, her voice carrying that strange double tone that Nora now recognized as her natural speech. As they hurried back through the station's corridors, the whispers in Nora's mind receded, but the sense of something vast and hungry watching them remained. The lights flickered, and several times the artificial gravity stuttered, nearly sending them tumbling. The resonance is fighting my shutdown commands, Lyra explained as they reached the airlock. Once aboard the Meridian, Reza's eyes widened at the sight of Dominic's bloodied face and Lyra's now obvious alien features. What in all the hells, he began. No time, Nora cut him off. Prepare for emergency departure. Disengage docking clamps and get us at least 50 kilometers from that station. As Reza complied, Nora turned to Lyra. Now, you're going to tell us everything. Who you really are, what that thing is, and why I shouldn't space you right now. Lyra nodded, her inhuman eyes reflecting the red emergency lights of the Meridian's bridge. My name isn't Lyra, she said. It's Velith, and I am a sentinel of the Kelvari Conclave. I was sent to monitor human expansion after your ships began approaching the containment zone. The what? Dominic asked, holding a medkit compress to his bleeding nose. A region of space my people have quarantined for millennia, Velith explained. The resonance is an ancient weapon, created during a war so long ago that even my species only remembers it in myths. It was designed to turn consciousness against itself, to invade minds and use them to spread. The Meridian pulled away from the station, engines straining. On the view screen, the structure's exterior began to glow with the same blue light they'd seen in the laboratory. It's awakening, Velith whispered. And it's hungry. Echoes of truth. The Meridian's engines strained as they accelerated away from the station, the vibration running through the deck plates like a shiver of fear. On the main view screen, the abandoned research facility was now enveloped in pulsating blue light, tendrils of energy stretching outward as if reaching for them. Reza, maximum burn, Nora ordered, her voice tense. I want us hidden in the nebula gases before that thing decides to follow. Velith, no longer Lyra, stood awkwardly at her former station, the crew's distrustful stares making her alien features seem even more pronounced. The subtle shifts in her appearance that Nora had previously dismissed as tricks of the light were now unmistakable, the slight luminescence of her skin, the too-perfect symmetry of her face, and eyes that reflected light in ways human eyes never could. It won't follow, Velith said, her dual-toned voice resonating in the cramped bridge. Not physically. The resonance isn't interested in ships or bodies, it wants minds. It's already spreading through subspace channels. Dominic looked up from his engineering console, face pale beneath his dark complexion. The communications array is going crazy. We're picking up signals from all across the sector, but they're wrong. Fragmented. That's it beginning to feed, Velith explained. It's consuming communication signals, using them as pathways to reach more consciousness. Shut down all non-essential communication systems, Nora commanded. Reza, go dark except for proximity sensors. As the crew rushed to comply, Nora grabbed Velith by the arm and pulled her into the captain's private quarters adjacent to the bridge. The door sealed behind them with a pneumatic hiss. Start talking, Nora demanded, releasing the alien woman. Everything. No more half-truths. Velith nodded, sinking onto the edge of Nora's bunk. The Kelvari discovered the resonance 2,000 years ago. We nearly lost our entire civilization before we understood what we were dealing with. It's not alive in the way you or I understand life, it's a pattern that replicates itself through conscious minds, consuming them in the process. And humans stumbled onto it, Nora surmised. Yes. That research station was built over one of the containment nodes, probably because they detected its energy signature and thought they'd found a new power source. Velitha's hands trembled slightly. I was sent to infiltrate human space and prevent further exploration in that sector, to protect both our species. By lying and manipulating your way onto my ship. Would you have believed me if I'd simply approached you and explained? Velith countered. Your species is still learning that you're not alone in the universe. Most humans have never seen a non-terrestrial sentient. I needed to be in a position to act quickly if the containment was breached. Nora paced the small room, mind racing. The resonance, how do we stop it? There's a primary node at the heart of the containment system. If we can reach it and reactivate the full suppression protocol, it should pull the resonance back into dormancy. And I'm supposed to trust you on this? Velitha's alien eyes met Nora's, unblinking. I've had 3 months to harm you or your crew. I haven't. I could have activated the station's defenses and killed all of you back there. I didn't. Before Nora could respond, the ship's alarm blared and Dominic's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we've got incoming. 3 vessels on an intercept course. They rushed back to the bridge. The view screen showed 3 sleek ships cutting through the nebula's violet gases, their hulls gleaming with a metallic iridescence that wasn't human manufacturing. Kelvari, Velith whispered, horrified. They must have detected the containment breach. Friends of yours? Reza asked bitterly. No, Velith said. If they're here, they've been ordered to sterilize the area. They'll destroy the station, your ship, and any other vessel within range to prevent the resonance from spreading. Fantastic, Nora muttered. Reza, evasive maneuvers. Head deeper into the gas cloud, it should interfere with their sensors. The Meridian lurched as Reza pushed the engines beyond safety parameters. The pursuing ships adjusted course, their movements impossibly precise. They're gaining, Dominic reported. Velith stepped forward. Let me contact them. I can explain. And tell them what? Nora challenged. That you've gone native? That you're helping the humans you were sent to spy on? That there's another way, Velith insisted. The primary node can be reactivated. Destruction isn't the only option. A new alarm sounded, and the ship shuddered violently. Dominic swore as his console sparked. They're using some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse. Our systems are failing. They're not trying to destroy us, Velith explained. They want to disable us first, to verify if we've been compromised by the resonance. The lights flickered and died, replaced by the dim red glow of emergency power. The pursuing ships surrounded them, herding the Meridian toward a small asteroid field. We're being scanned, Velith said, closing her eyes as if feeling something the humans couldn't perceive. They're checking for resonance infection. Moments later, the ship's communication system activated independently, and a voice speaking in musical, harmonic tones filled the bridge. Velith responded in the same language, her words urgent and pleading. What are you telling them? Nora demanded. That we need to reach the primary node, Velith answered between exchanges. That destruction will only delay the resonance, not stop it. The conversation grew heated, with Velitha's voice rising in what sounded like frustration or desperation. Finally, she turned to Nora. They don't believe me. They think I've been compromised. Her eyes reflected the emergency lights like mirrors. They're preparing to fire. Nora made a split-second decision. Open a channel. Let me talk to them. Velith looked surprised but complied, manipulating the communications console with familiar ease. This is Captain Nora Vega of the Terran vessel Meridian, Nora began, standing tall despite the fear coursing through her. Your operative has revealed herself to us and explained the situation. We are not infected by the resonance, and we want the same thing you do, to stop it from spreading. There was a pause before a response came, translated through the ship's systems. Human vessel, you cannot comprehend what you face. Containment has been breached. Protocol demands isolation and sterilization. Your protocols are outdated, Nora countered. Velith believes the primary node can be reactivated. If she's right, destruction isn't necessary. If she's wrong. She took a deep breath. If she's wrong, we'll still be within your weapon range. Another long pause followed. The Kelvari ships maintained their threatening formation, weapon systems visibly charged. The Kelvari do not typically trust other species, came the eventual reply. But Sentinel Velith has an impeccable record. We will escort you to the coordinates of the primary node. Any deviation from course will result in immediate termination. Relief flooded through the bridge. As the communication ended, Nora turned to find Velith staring at her with an expression of wonder. Why did you do that? The alien woman asked softly. Why trust me after learning I've been lying to you from the beginning? Nora considered the question carefully. Because sometimes the truth isn't in what people say, it's in what they do. And everything you've done has been to protect my crew, even at risk to yourself. Under Calvari escort, the Meridian journeyed deeper into the nebula, following coordinates Velith provided. The primary node was hidden within a massive asteroid, hollowed out eons ago and filled with the same crystalline technology they'd seen at the station. As they prepared to board, Velith paused at the airlock, her alien features solemn in the dim light. "Captain, Nora, there's something I haven't told you," she said, her dual-toned voice hesitant. "Reactivating the primary node requires a consciousness anchor. Someone must connect directly to the system and guide the resonance back into containment." "And let me guess," Nora said dryly, "that someone needs to be you." Velith nodded. "My species is partially resistant to the resonance because of our neural structure. But the process isn't without risk. If I fail, my mind will be the first it consumes." Dominic, checking his environmental suit nearby, looked up sharply. "You're talking about sacrificing yourself." "I'm talking about doing my duty," Velith corrected. "As a sentinel, this was always my purpose." The asteroid's interior was vast and ancient, the walls carved with symbols that predated both human and Calvari civilizations. At its center stood a massive crystal structure, pulsing with the same blue light they'd seen before, but more intense, more alive. Calvari soldiers from the escort ships formed a perimeter as Velith approached the crystal. She placed both hands upon its surface and began to speak in that melodic language, her voice rising and falling in complex patterns. The crystal's light intensified, flowing up Velith's arms like liquid fire. She gasped, her back arching as the connection formed. "What's happening to her?" Nora demanded of the nearest Calvari soldier. "The resonance is resisting," the soldier replied, voice emotionless. "It does not wish to return to dormancy." Velith's face contorted in pain, but she continued the ritual, her words now interspersed with cries of agony. The light spread across her body, enveloping her completely. Unable to stand by and watch, Nora stepped forward. "Captain, don't." Dominic called out, but she ignored him. Reaching through the light, Nora grasped Velith's shoulder. Immediately, pain lanced through her mind, alien whispers, hungry and ancient, clawing at her thoughts. But beneath that, she felt Velith's consciousness, struggling to maintain control. "I'm here," Nora said through gritted teeth. "You're not doing this alone." Something shifted in the energy field. The hungry whispers receded, replaced by a sense of harmony, human and Calvari minds working in concert, forming a stronger barrier than either could create alone. The crystal flared blindingly bright, then settled into a steady, calm pulse. The containment was re-established. Velith collapsed into Nora's arms, her alien features slack with exhaustion but alive. Around them, the Calvari soldiers stood in stunned silence. "Impossible," one of them whispered. "A human mind should not be compatible with the containment protocol." "Maybe you don't know as much about humans as you think," Nora replied, helping Velith to her feet. Later, aboard the Meridian, Velith, now recovered enough to speak, sat across from Nora in the captain's quarters. "My superiors are reconsidering their approach to human space," she said, a hint of amusement in her dual-toned voice. "What you did shouldn't have been possible. It suggests our species are more compatible than we realized. Compatible enough that you might stop lying to us and consider actual diplomacy?" Nora asked, raising an eyebrow. Velith smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her alien features into something beautiful. "I believe that process has already begun, Captain. Though I admit, not under ideal circumstances." "Few relationships start ideally," Nora replied, surprising herself with the implication. "I lied to protect you," Velith said softly. "But moving forward, I'd prefer truth between us." Nora considered the alien woman before her, no longer just a radar technician with a mysterious past, but a complex being from another world who had risked everything to save both their peoples. "Truth," Nora agreed, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement. "And maybe something more." Velith took her hand, the touch sending a small spark of that same harmonic energy between them, a connection forged in crisis but promising something deeper in the peace to come. Outside the viewport, the nebula swirled in violet patterns, and somewhere distant, a signal passed between two civilizations, no longer a weapon, but a beginning.